Ohayou gozaimasu. So I thought I should give you an update on exactly how that new board thing that I tried this year, exactly how that turned out. Since this was kind of an experiment, and the whole purpose of an experiment is to get a result and then back up and decide how it worked. So this is just kind of a view of the board here at the very end of the year. Let me see if I can back up a little bit, give you more view, because it turned out pretty impressive if I do say so myself. So, in case you forgot or haven't watched the other video, all of the badges here represent the grades that the kids have gotten on a particular assessment. So, across the top, there are the different aliases that the kiddos could have. These were drawn at random at the beginning of the year. So that means since they were random, nobody knows that name except me and said student, unless they choose to tell somebody else, because I don't give that information out. Then on the side here are the standards, the different chapters. Now you'll notice that there are different kind of numbers of the times this is repeated. The idea being that this, from about moles and stoic down, was all first semester stuff. So since they had already done that all first semester, not to mention having done it on the final, I didn't feel the need to make them do it 3 times. In science, usually once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, 3 times now we're starting to talk something that might actually be truth. So if the kiddos have shown me a topic 3 times, in an assessment situation, they have demonstrated their level of knowledge on that topic. If they have demonstrated it 3 times, they can then opt out of that section on the final. Once again, the old stuff, since they'd already done it all first semester, notice there are only 2 spots here on the old stuff where they had to demonstrate knowledge. As far as the badges themselves, green is an A. Think of it like a stoplight. Green is an A. This is good to go. Yellow is a C, so kind of cause for pause or concern. Red is either a D or an F. Again, major stop, rethink, refocus. And that leaves blue as kind of in the middle. It's a B. Kind of a warm and fuzzy color. I use a GPA scale to grade, so in general, high 3s and 4s are green. Mid 3s, high 2s are a B. 2s are a C, and then a 1 or a 0 is a D or an F. So in general, 4, 3, 2, 1 as far as their grades. It's worked out really, really well because the kids can walk right in. Have you graded that test yet? Oh, well, let's see. Do you have a new badge? Bink. Yes, you do. Test is already graded. What do I have in the class? Well, I don't know. Here are all your grades right here. So again, it negated the need for me to look up on my spreadsheet what the kids had. They didn't have to log online to look up their grades. It was all right here for them to come in and look at. It also gave them a very clear visual standpoint of exactly how they're doing in the class. If you see lots of greens and blues, you're doing pretty good. See lots of reds, maybe we got a little bit of work to do. Let's see, what else can I tell you? So, on the board, all of those badges represent only assessments. I only grade assessments. That doesn't mean I don't give homework, it just means I don't grade it. Because homework is still the developmental phase. You're still practicing a topic, and so why would I assess you on it yet? And so this year what I did was I introduced this grid of 9 different ways that you could demonstrate your knowledge on a topic. If you're assessing knowledge, the exact means of assessment should be irrelevant. So you could choose any of these 9 this last semester, and one of these was due on assessment day. So it used to be test day, but now it's just assessment day. You could take a test if you want to, or you could make me a movie and turn that in, write up a lab, do a research paper, any of these different 9 assessments. From then on, it was only on assessment day that I made you turn something in. So if you wanted to, that could be the only assessment that you do for a particular standard. This means you're going to have to take this section on the final, but if that's your choice, that's your choice. Maybe your life is really crazy busy in February and you just didn't have time to do 3 assessments on, what is this? Solutions. Or let's say your life is pretty slow. You've got the time. You know May is going to be hell on wheels, so heck, let's go ahead and get 3 assessments in this topic so I can opt out of it for later. Let's see. So that worked out really well. What I discovered, though, is that unfortunately in academia, an assessment is not always an assessment. We have to straddle a whole bunch of lines between preparing kids for college, but also for the greater real world. And so some of these are very real world, being able to present, research a topic and pull it together, read a literature review, but traditional academia requires test-taking skills, things like this, and lab reports, particularly if you're going into a science-based field. So Unfortunately, an assessment is not always an assessment. So here are a couple of changes that I'm going to make for next year. Oh, I didn't show you something. Before I do that, this is what my final looked like. So you'll see I had all 9 of the topics listed, and so before they started the final, the kiddos could come back here to the board, look at where they had 3 topics, or 3 assessments on a topic, and then mark that off on their sheet here, and then they would go through and take whatever section of the final they needed to take. If they had gotten 3 assessments in a topic, like this kiddo here, 1, 2, 3, on this particular topic, this is the grade that I would use for that section on the final. So 3 blues, that's roughly a 3. And so when I was grading the final under that topic, which was, I think, solutions again, I would just put a 3 here instead of going through and having new information to grade. They already demonstrated their knowledge 3 times. So that's 3 times consistently in that case. Apparently that student has an intermediate level understanding of the topic. Okay, back to some changes that I'm going to make. First off, for next year's badges, I am going to put what it is on the badge. So used to be it was just blue, green, yellow, red. Next year it's going to have red movie, yellow performance event, green test, or whatever the case may be. So it will actually say on the badge what it is you're doing. Since largely an assessment is still an assessment, that means that if you're going to do a reassessment, a redo of some type, anything can replace anything, because again, it's about demonstration of knowledge, not necessarily which skill set you're using. So like here, this might have been a presentation and then this was a traditional test. Assessments are going to be replaced from the bottom up, without exception, simply because the most recent information, most recent data is going to be the most accurate as far as what the student has mastered and what they can do. And so that's what we did here. The student gave me 1 assessment, didn't do so good on this one. Did a 2nd assessment, did really well, got a blue, said, hey, I bet I can do better on that red. Took a 3rd assessment, which then replaced the 1st assessment. Notice I didn't list the types because, again, that's largely irrelevant. Next year, that will still hold true with 1 exception. In order to opt out of a section on the final, one of these 3 badges must say test. There has to be a traditional test somewhere on that board for that section in order for you to opt out of that section on the final. The idea is that if you did well, or if you did poorly, so say, for example, this kiddo right here. Let's say this kiddo right here took a regular test and did poorly on it, got a D or an F. Did a lab report, did well, did a paper, did really well, says, hey, I bet I can do better than that original test score. Maybe this student has, test anxiety for whatever reason. They get nervous, they just don't do well on it. Fine. So they come back and they do a periodical summary. And that periodical summary, they do really well. It replaces the test. But now we've got periodical summary, lab, paper. There is no test anymore in this column, which means that kiddo is now going to have to take this section on the final. I have to have some traditional form of assessment in order to ascertain their level of mastery. So I think that's a good way of still maintaining kind of academia's expectations while still allowing the kiddos to play to their strengths. One other thing. The 3 badges are going to have to be 3 different types next year, so that's 2 things I'm changing. First off, that the badges are going to say what the assessment is, so that means you must have 3 different assessments in order to opt out of it on the final. Second change is that one of them must be a test, a good old-fashioned test. But it gives them the freedom to say, all right, I've got some time. I can work on a couple of these assessments, really master this topic. Or no, I really don't have time right now. I'm good at lab reports. Let me do a lab report for assessment day and then take the test when my life slows down a little bit. Since I have all of the rubrics already pre-done and pre-set up, both for the topics, like for the assessments themselves, but also for the topic rubrics, those are already all done and printed out and live in a basket over there in the front corner of the room. So that means that's not any more work for me. As far as the tests go, everybody always says, well, but if the kids are taking different tests at different times, they're going to cheat. If they are cheating, they're not doing a very good job, because I am not seeing students get grades that I don't expect on these assessments. If you've got a kiddo that's been getting yellows and reds the entire time, they get a yellow or a red on the test. I've been teaching 5 years now, and to date, I have, I think, on one or two occasions, only seen a kid blow me out of the water with a test score, and that's usually because they've been working with me after school. So, again, if they are cheating, ultimately, they're still having to learn the material in order to put it on the test, so isn't that kind of the goal anyway? But the board itself, the kids have absolutely loved it. They walk in, there are their grades. It's still private enough because nobody knows those names. Only a handful of kiddos actually gave out their names. They know if I've graded something, they know exactly where they stand, what their grade looks like. Kind of takes the mystery out of the grade book. You know, it's no longer just something for the teacher. Even on SIS, the online parent portal, it's still kind of secretive. Where's that grade? What did it come from? So it's all out here in the open. There are no secrets. There are no strange computations. This is your grade. So they have really enjoyed it. If you have any questions on exactly how I did all of this, please do let me know. Standards-based grading in general, but also just kind of finding new, innovative ways in order for the kids to learn, but also to keep track of their learning, to really have a say in their education is really important to me, and I do enjoy it. So, yeah, if I can answer any questions, do let me know. Other than that, have a fantastic day and happy summer.